syntaxes are going to be to say exactly what you want to look at, then it makes the rest of the course just a heck of a lot easier, that you can just go through every little module you're doing and say, nope, 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 and just cut things out. And hopefully you end up back with extra time, but at the very least, you might end up with the amount of time you should have been spending on the things anyway, that you were just cramming in things that everything seems important to us, when we're first teaching courses, but you only have 40 hours or whatever with students, so you got to make choices.
Mm-hmm. So oftentimes in education literature, we talk about the difference, like the challenge, the struggle between the content versus depth. Would you say that your learning objectives have helped you make those decisions about what content to spend time on?
Absolutely. So I was never one that put together little resources for students like study guides. But it then occurred to me later on as I was going that I need one of these things. I need a study guide. And then it made sense that this should be the exact thing that they're looking at too. So every bit of everything that we talk about must match up to one of the learning objectives, at least one. And every single question on an exam has to match up to them too. And if you have free response exams, sometimes I'll just use the learning objective as the question. If it says, hey, compare and contrast this and that, that'll be that. I'll just copy it right into the test and be like, go.
That's a really good idea. That's great.
Yeah. I sat in on another faculty when I was reviewing for them, and I was evaluating this instructor that we had that was just visiting. And during the time I was in the room, he said to the 300-student class, he's like, I know it seems tough to know which things are important and which things are going to be on the exam, but you're just going to have to figure it out. Ooh. And I was like, that just sounds like an awful thing to say.
Yeah.
But a lot of us think that way, and it's normal. But now that the more I think about it, the more horrific that sounds coming out of somebody else's mouth at this point.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe the instructor wasn't sure what would be on the test yet either. Maybe he had to figure it out.
It is true that this particular instructor was often copying exams like 10 minutes before the class was starting.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. Well, it's great that that's going so well still. I'm glad. And then when we talked before, you were really discouraged about the online 1005 class you were teaching. Have you taught online since then, or is that no longer an issue for you?
So we hired another instructor to replace the one I'm talking about. Mm. And since then, I guess I've had some sort of seniority over this person. Mm-hmm. And so I've been given the option every time to whether I take the face-to-face or the online. And so I've sort of taken the chicken way out of here, and I'm making him do it every time. So I didn't solve anything, and now he's taking the same hits that I was on like student evaluations and things. So I still feel like it can be done well, but I don't feel like we're doing it well, and I think that the changes that would occur would be really time-consuming.
What sort of changes do you think would help?
Well, I think I'd like to make it more of a community where the students know each other and know me and are working in teams, kind of like, I guess, the way that some of these online games became really important and people were like losing sleep and not going to their jobs because they felt like they had to go and help their team build their castle or whatever these things do.
Okay.
So that kind of social structure, I think, is just really important. Like Weight Watchers, having to go there every Monday and see your friends and do this together really, really builds it up rather than just doing it when yourself, and eventually you can just cheat and not worry about it. And so I think this might be part of our problem. Because the modules that we have online are fine. I don't think I'm a good lecturer, but I don't think I'm some magic person that you need to hear me talk to know what's going on. think maybe when you've got friends and places to be for points and groups to study with, that the way that you're going to interact with the material is going to be just more serious and more frequent. So how to put that into an online format is kind of challenging, but I don't know, have like some kind of group projects and maybe even times where you actually meet with subsets, like, hey, you need to at least meet with me Wednesday at 3 or something, and all of that's kind of time-consuming. Maybe probably more time-consuming than having a face-to-face course, which maybe takes away from what we thought was the value of online, was that it would be less resource-intense. So I'm not convinced anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a tough question. I just had this image of students with their little avatars, like building proteins or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like biology Warcraft or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm totally into video games. I think those are fantastic things. And online teaching is close to that, I guess. It could be, in that at least you're looking at things to a screen, but instead it's like, hey, here's a list of 6 things to do. Do them or don't, I won't notice.
Yeah. Sounds like, so accountability is really lacking.
I think so. Mm-hmm. There's still exams, but by then it's like kind of too late, you know?
Right.
At the end of your life, now you're really motivated to stop smoking, but by then it's too late. You need, like, somehow to put the fear of death into you when you're young, which is impossible because youngsters don't think that way.
Right. Yeah. So, like, that daily accountability or motivation, that's lacking because you have to go to class, you might as well do the homework. But if you don't have to go to class...
Yeah, exactly. Or your friends are at the library.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your social interaction as well as your study interaction.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's the entire problem, but it's my hypothesis currently anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. So, makes intuitive sense. It's just, does data support it? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure. So,
if I didn't hate my online class so much, I'd try to do that.
Right. Okay. Well, sounds like you have changed that by passing it off to someone else. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, has your teaching, your face-to-face teaching, has that changed at all in the past couple years that you've been participating in the ACER FLC?
Yeah. In the ways that we were talking about the evolution and ecosystem kind of misconceptions, those kinds of things, and I'm much more motivated to have some kind of free response, even if it's not some sort of ACER question, although that would be ideal with 200, 300 students. Mm-hmm. I still haven't done it where I've had like a free response question that I somehow needed to grade for 200 students. I don't know if I'll ever get that exam back, but I'm closer to that. I'm closer to wanting to do that, but somehow get a grade or something, I don't know. But at least the ACER questions have given us a few of these things. I'm sure there's a lot more out there that I'm not accurately representing my students' understanding in, but at least it's knocked out a few of them for us.
That's good. So are you doing anything differently during class than you did a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so for example, with the evolution, having a plant lose a trait is something that we try to do in class each time now.
Okay.
Which just wouldn't have been on our radar before. It would have been like, hey, here's how it works. It's obvious it works that way for everything. So now that we know that the actual character in the question plays some weird role with the learning, we specifically try to address that one, for example.
Okay.
The ecosystem one, again, that one's such a weird fundamental challenge.